Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back for the second portion of our questions and answers. We had numerous questions that I put to you from the forum, just yesterday, just before the break. And also we had a sister phoning in, particularly about the raising of children and how to deal with maybe slightly boisterous and noisy children. I'm going to carry on with some more questions. I'm going to carry on with some more questions, but before I do, I have a caller who's waiting, who has phoned in on 01274 214 299. So if you also have something, please do call as well. But we'll take this call for now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear caller.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have two questions.
Ji.
Last time we spoke, we were talking about barzakh. I'm sorry, I didn't quite get it last time. But barzakh, and you said
I'll help you. I'll help you. Barzakh.
Yeah.
Barzakh.
Barzakh.
Yeah.
Barzakh.
It helps if you're a Pushtun because we're very good with the kha. So barzakh, we kind of guttural sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
We were talking about barzakh, and you said, for example, if you're in your grave for 1,000 years. And you've had your tick, 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 cross, 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 and you either get, and you're there. The question was, I've got two questions actually. The first question was, at what time do you get the benefit of the good deeds that either you've done for yourself during your lifetime or somebody does for you after you've passed? Okay. So do you get them while you're in barzakh or once you get into the hereafter on Judgment Day?
Okay.
And my second question was, in the Quran Sharif, it says if you read Surah Ikhlas, for example, 3 times, it's the equivalent of reading one Quran. Or if you read the Yasin Sharif, it's like reading 10 Qurans. How does that? What was the background behind that? How did that come about?
Okay.
How do we know? And if you do read Surah Ikhlas 3 times, you have to say Bismillah Rahman Rahim every time you read it for the 3 times, or just the one Bismillah Rahman Rahim at the beginning.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you very much.
No problem, sister. Jazakumullah khair for calling in again. Okay, I better make a note of that. We've got another call coming in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, dear caller.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, dear caller?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I am okay, but my niece, she's in hospital.
Inna lillah.
Terminally ill with the big C. Everybody can make dua for her.
Absolutely.
I've got a question for you about Mother Nature.
Okay.
Earthquakes and storms and wind. Obviously, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes, the rain, one even drop fall, He knows. So, when you get storms and destruction of houses and destruction of people and like earthquakes, is there any revelation in that? Or
yeah.
Is there, there's been storms in China, there's been floods in Germany, in Canada there's been heat waves. Is that global warming or is that down to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishing us what we have been like on this earth?
Absolutely. I'll get to that, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair, my dear brother, for calling in.
Thank you, sir.
Barakallah fiqh. Take care. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so let's tackle these questions. If you do have a question, please do call, and we will deal with them. So let's go through each one. So respected sister called earlier with this most difficult word to pronounce, the old barzakh, in terms of good deeds. So she asked rather, that in terms of the good deeds that she or any of us perform, when do we benefit from those good deeds? And similarly, if we've instructed, let's just say we've raised pious children, or we've had students, we've shared knowledge with people, we've opened an orphanage, we dug a well, whatever. These are what we term as the sadaqatul jariyah, perpetual reward. When do we benefit from them? Well, you benefit from them almost immediately after you pass away. So the benefit is there, and you benefit at all stages. So, we've talked about the stage of the grave, which is barzakh. We've talked about that. We've talked about the resurrection. in terms of going to quench our thirst from the Hawd Athar, from the fountain which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been given. Inna a'ataynaka al-kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar. We mention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it in there. And then obviously we walk in darkness, or we have the amount of light around us depending on how many good deeds we've done, before we get to the bridge over the back of Jahannam. We then cross over the bridge of the back of Jahannam, and we cross at the speed of our good deeds. And then we stand in front of Allah, and our scales, or the scales are brought in front of us, and the two pans of the scales, the deeds are weighed. So again, our good deeds come in. And so basically, as soon as one passes, then they see the impact of their good deeds. And obviously, if because that person will be dead for numerous, maybe 1,000 years, then their deeds are still being performed by others. If they open an institute, if they open an orphanage, if they had children and they educated them, gave them tarbiyah, and they're praying for them, making dua for them, giving sadaqah for them, they will continue to get those rewards. So ultimately, those rewards will be the rank they get in Jannah. The ulama say that you enter Jannah through the mercy of Allah. So we enter Jannah through the mercy of Allah, not due to our deeds. But once we're in Jannah, it's our deeds that give us the various rank. Whether we're going to be in, I don't know, I'm just making this up now, but just to kind of make up an example. Whether we're going to be in, ground floor, floor 612, the penthouse suite, depending on where we're going to be, that will be according to our deeds. So I hope that deals with that. With regards to Surah Ikhlas, in terms of the reward, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging people to gain reward. Now, when someone says, recite the Quran, and you say, okay, which bit? You say, all of it. You think, well, that's a bit of a mission. Even if you pray a para a day, that's a month. So it does take some time. So it can be sometimes, we think, oh, that's a lot of work to put in for the reward. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is encouraging us and saying, look, like for instance, somebody's passing away, or like our brother phoned, and his niece is ill, so may Allah grant her shifa, kamila, may Allah grant shifa to all those who are ill, and may this illness be a means for them to shed their sins, so they get a greater abode in the hereafter. Ameen. And so when it comes to, let's just say, as soon as I hear somebody has passed away, so you get a message or someone tells you something, then I immediately, inshallah ta'ala, I've been sticking to it so far, may Allah keep me upon this, Ameen, is I will recite Surah Ikhlas 3 times. And I will say, Ya Allah, the reward of this, place into the deeds of the so-and-so that's just passed away. It's very quick. It doesn't take no more than 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum, but really 5 minutes, no more than that. And potentially you've given this person a reward of a Quran Khatam. Now obviously, reciting the full Quran is of greater reward, because in there you recite at least one Surah Ikhlas, as well as one Surah Yasin, Surah Rahman, Surah Mulk, Surah Sajdah. You're reciting so many, Surah Baqarah, Surah Al Imran. And we know the Prophet ﷺ said that for every word that is recited in the Quran, you get 10 ajr. And that's not that alif, lam, mim is one word, but alif is one, lam is one, mim is one. Now I can't remember the exact number of letters in the Quran, but you're talking in the hundreds of thousands. If there's over 6,000 verses in the Quran, you're talking hundreds of thousands of letters in the Quran. And that, multiply that by 10. So that cannot be equal to Surah Ikhlas, which is relatively short, 3-4 ayats. But this is an encouragement that you will get ample reward. Okay, you get a reward equivalent to. With regards to Basmala, then according to the Hanafi, the Basmala is, or as we call it, Bismillah. The name of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is Basmala. That's its name. Like Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, its name is Surah Al-Fatiha. I know sometimes in the Indo-Pak world we say Alhamdu Sharif, because that's the beginning, but its actual name is Surah Al-Fatiha. And similarly, when it comes to Bismillah, its name is Basmala. And also, A'udhu Billahi is Ta'awwaz. So, we have names for them. So, we say that Bismillah ar-Rahman is not actually part of the surah. Bismillah has been brought there as a way of determining the end of one surah and the beginning of another surah. That's what its purpose is. And also because for barakah, we're taking Allah's name. So, as long as you've recited it once, then it's Surah Ikhlas 3 times. You do not need to recite basmala 3 times at the beginning of each surah. You can do. Obviously, it's Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It's not wrong. It's not a sin to recite it. In fact, it's rewarding, but you are not required to. That's the key point there. So I hope that's the 3 questions the sister put to me. One was the good deeds in Barzakh. One was the reward of Surah Ikhlas, and likewise Surah Yasin. And the other one was with regards to Basmala. If I've missed something, sister, please do call in and remind me so that I can touch upon that. We've still got significant time to cover that in. The next question which came in, where our brother, our Iqra TV third presenter, was with regards to natural disasters, and he phoned on 01274 214 299 to pose that question to me. And this is about now natural disasters. Okay, what do we call these things that we call natural disasters? Mother Nature, he used the term. Now, from our perspective, we know that there's an acting party. These things don't just happen because they just happen. There is an actor. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is initiating these heat waves, wildfires, earthquakes, storms, hurricanes, whatever you see around you as we term as natural disasters, these are all divine intervention, divine retribution, call it what you like. Now, this can be split broadly into 2 areas. One is that we know nearer the end of time that the number of natural disasters would increase, okay? And the brother alluded to this himself when he said, oops, I've just broken this pen. When he alluded to himself, when I will claim that it was already loose, when it was that people need to be, as the days get nearer to the end, there's a high level of natural disasters that people will witness. Purpose of natural disasters is to remind us of Allah's power. Unfortunately, we do not see the acting hand of Allah in creation because we're blind. If we were truly not blind, we would see that the fact that a baby is born, the fact that a human dies, the fact that the heart works, the fact that you can see, the fact that you can breathe, all these things would make us say, Subhanallah, there is Allah. But unfortunately, we've now become numb to these kind of observations. So nearer the end of time, they are more graphical, shall we say. They are more in your face. They're more threatening. So that's why you will see a lot more of these kind of events as we draw nearer to the end of time. That's one angle. The other angle is more specific to the fact that if people are behaving in a certain way, in a certain land, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send azab there. Now, it might be that there's lots of innocent people that die there as well. People who weren't involved in that sin, or people who weren't, transgressing in that way. Then it will be based upon their intention. If they stood up against it, that will stand in good favor for them. If they stood up against it, but they weren't powerful enough, but they had the hatred for it in their heart, that should suffice them, depending on their position in society. But if they had nothing to do with it whatsoever, and they were, either a landslide or an earthquake or whatever, then they will be resurrected, and it will be based on their intentions. And this comes in a hadith which Aisha radiallahu anha narrates with regards to how people are killed indiscriminately, because whenever Allah's azab comes, whenever these natural disasters come, it's indiscriminate. It's not targeted, it's not like certain people die, even though the other person who sat next to him doesn't die. That whole area, people will die. And obviously, we know generally bad people like to live with bad people, but also you find that good people are mixed in amongst bad people as well. It's just because of due to certain circumstances that they are there. So I hope that deals with the 4 or so questions that we got. Please do call in. We are running out of time, and so that we may be able to answer some of these other questions for you. So let's see what we got there. Islam Mufti, may Allah reward you in this world and the next. Can I also ask, is bone broth halal? Is there any particular halal way of making broth, or it doesn't matter? Okay. So let's respond to that. I'm not sure. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm not a cook, or my cooking expertise is somewhat limited. But if I understand what you mean by broth is you just basically take bone and boil it in water, then as long as obviously the meat and the animal is halal, then there's no harm in it. There should be no problem there. I want to touch, with the few minutes left, I want to touch on this particular question which has come in, and it's quite a detailed question. I'm not sure if I have sufficient time, but let's see. Assalamu alaikum. I pray you are in good health, Mufti Amjad. I'm in need of clear, unambiguous answers, please. Since shaving the beard is haram, is it permissible for a barber to shave the beard of another man? If this is forbidden, would the earnings from the shave be haram too? After asking multiple Maulvis, I'm assuming he's saying Maulvis as in respect rather than sometimes as it's used in a derogatory way, and getting the response of should be avoided is not satisfactory because it gives the element of doubt and space to allow it, as it's not must be avoided. Can you please provide a clear-cut answer for this, please? Clear-cut, get it? Shaving, cutting the hair, clear-cut, anyway. As I'm thinking of doing barbering, I'm not sure if that's a word, as a full-time profession. Similarly, are skin fade haircuts considered to be the same as those mentioned in the ahadith of qadha? This fade is where the sides of the head are not shaved with a blade, but cut with a machine so close to the skin that it looks like it's been shaved, and the top of the head still has visible hair, sometimes short and sometimes long. The usual response from these movies is that hair should be cut to one length, but this does not answer the question because the front of the hair is not the same length of the hair at the back of the head when cutting to the length of the earlobe. I think this is called the wafra or even the limma. The back is much shorter than the front if measured. Number 4, is such a haircut haram? Is it permissible to give such a haircut? Is the earnings from this haircut halal? Okay, please provide a definite answer and not just the regular should be avoided, all hair should be one length. It's always nice when someone asks a question and tells you how to answer it as well. Khair, let's respond to this. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brother, I'm assuming when you use the word Maulvis, you are saying it out of respect and not in a derogatory way. I will have husn dhan towards you. Secondly, the reason why the ulama say should be avoided and not must be avoided, because when it comes to something which is not absolutely clear cut, then they will refrain from using the word haram out of fear of making something haram which is not haram. Hence their hesitation. It's not because they don't know the answer or whatever, so don't misunderstand when a scholar responds by should be avoided, it's better not to do that, don't do that on certain matters which are slightly grey. It is because of that. Anyway, with response to your questions, since shaving the beard is haram, is it permissible for a barber to shave the beard of another man? No, it is not permissible. Number 2, if this is forbidden, would the earnings from the shave be haram too? Yes, the earnings from the shaving would be haram as well. Number 3, similarly, are skin fade haircuts considered to be the same as those mentioned in the hadith as qaza? This fade is where the sides of the head are not shaved with a blade, but cut with a machine so close to the skin that it looks like it's been shaved, and the top of the head still has visible hair, sometimes short and sometimes long. The reason why here ulama say that this should be avoided and it should be one length is because there is some ikhtilaf in terms of the interpretation of the word qadha. That is because some consider it to be where hair is left in clumps. So some hair, there's hair growing out and some bit is shaved, some is growing out, some bit is shaved, some is growing out, some bit is shaved, which makes the child look somewhat silly. Also, you notice that it mentions it specifically to a child, okay? Doesn't mention it to an adult. And hence the reason why there's some hesitation. However, in order to remove the hesitation from you, then one should not be cutting somebody else's hair in that manner, and similarly, a person who's having his hair cut should not be cut in that manner. It is not correct to do so, okay? And that's obviously bearing this in mind. Is such a haircut haram? And this is the thing about the word haram now, okay? If it is interpreted that this is qadha, then yes, it would be. But if it is not interpreted as that, then it is not. So it depends on the fuqaha, the faqih's position, the scholar's position of how he's interpreting this. Hence, some will say that it is haram because of the fact that it is qadha. Others will say it is makruh tahrimi because it is close to that. Having said that, I will say to you that it is not permissible to give such a haircut. So I hope that's been clear for you. Similarly, if it is not permissible to give such a haircut, then the earnings from this haircut will also be impermissible. I hope those answers I've given you are unambiguous and clear. But I also want to explain to you why ulama respond in the way they do. Remember, a scholar is not going to respond to the desire and your wish of what answer you want to see, whether you want ambiguity or you don't want ambiguity. They will answer taking all things into consideration. They know also that many people have haircuts in this manner. So what they don't want to do is give such a ruling that would literally make that person fall rather in this issue of hurmat. So hence the reason you will see these different responses. So I hope you can understand that, and I hope that my responses have been clear to you. Okay, if you have any other information you require, then please do get back in touch. So that deals with that question. So we've got most of the questions done, and I'm conscious of time. So unfortunately, please don't call in. And unfortunately, I cannot deal with any more questions even on our forum. But hey, guess what? I'm back tomorrow, insha'Allah ta'ala, and also on Friday. So save your questions up. Call me tomorrow, insha'Allah. Call me on Friday, and I hope to respond to you then. Jazakumullah khairan for joining in. I pray Allah accepts our deeds. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us onto the straight path. Ameen. And I will see you all tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.